pond, Kelly? Okay, thanks for fast forwarding, or thanks for watching that video. So what you're going to notice, what you have noticed, is that I'm in my backyard building this log cabin, which is pretty unusual. I'm in a suburban neighborhood in central Ontario, and I had to do something a little bit differently. So if you've been following along, you know that I cut down about 60 trees at my friend's property. They were all cedar, well, some cedar, and about 90% of them were white spruce. Very knotty, sap was running, so they're very heavy, and they were green, of course, because I'd cut them down live. So I started a foundation out of cedar logs on that property, and then I kind of left it to go up to start building a cabin up north at my own property, a property that belongs to my wife and I. Then, of course, once I got up there, I started cutting some balsam fir down. A friend I met on Facebook, really great guy, and his wife, Terry Jr. and Ashley, they gave me permission to come and thin out a bush, a forest on their property that they wanted just thinned out, cleared out a little bit. So I had access to fantastic trees. So I got, I forget how many trees I cut down, maybe 25 trees. You'll see that, you saw that in the video. The size of those, there was some white pine, there was red pine, and Scotch pine or Scots pine. And I got like 900 feet of logs out of there, but you saw they were big diameter. So two problems with that: very, very heavy. I'm having a really hard time manhandling those, and as you know, I'm not using power equipment for this build. On their property, I actually used a chainsaw, cut those trees down. I loaded up on a rented trailer, and I hauled those to my property, dropped them on the driveway, and now I'm struggling to get them back to the site. But biggest problem with them is that they're green. Got a storm coming in, I think, so excuse the wind. So when I built that cabin 25 years ago, I had my 5.5 acres, and I only had access to the trees that I had there. I didn't have time to dry them. They were mostly like black ash, basswood, and maple. Not ideal building materials, but anyway, I built the thing. It lasted, so I'm not complaining about what I did then, but the notching pattern that I use and the green logs that I use caused some of that cabin to shift, spaces to open up a little bit more, and for the logs to rot. Some of the logs rotted, especially on the ends at the notches, over the last 25 years. So I want to do this one right. So I've been doing a lot of research on cabins. I've been online. My wife's been online looking for inspiration for log cabin designs. I've got some great ideas. We've got some things we're going to incorporate into this one. Still dedicated to building this thing entirely by hand and by myself, the one at my property and at the one at my friend's property. So I've got over 20 acres of land that's of our own that would be suitable for building multiple cabins. So that's the plan. I'm going to get this first one built, and then I'm going to move on to these other ones. But point being, long-winded explanation to get to this point. The green logs that I've been cutting down, or the live trees that I cut down, I've really been uncomfortable with the decision to build this year with those logs without letting them season, shrink, check, and warp to where they're going to end up. So struggled with this decision for a while, but as I was explaining this to some of my family members, a close family member said she's got up to, I think it's about 100 logs, and I'll show you these. 100 cedar logs that were going to be for high fencing. So they're essentially fence posts. So they're 12-foot cedar fence posts. Minimum diameter is about 6 inches. They go up to, some of them are, the butt ends are like 10 inches, but I would say an average of, say, 7.5-inch logs. So they're actually fairly straight. I'm pretty happy with them. You know, a lot of the time so far has been used up cutting those trees down, shaping the logs and getting those logs prepped for log cabin building. So that's debarking, that's limbing. It's really time consuming. So these cedar posts, they came, about half of them came debarked. So they're run through a mill, debarking machine that spirals them and takes the bark and the high points off, like the knots. So you'll see this spiral pattern in the logs that I'm building on in my backyard right now, on the cabin that I'm building in the backyard right now. So I really don't like the look of that, of course. It's sort of against the principle of building this thing by hand, but on the other hand, these logs are seasoned. They've been cut at least a year. I think they've been stored at her place for at least a year, and they're probably cut a year or two before that. So they're well seasoned. Like I said, I just don't like the appearance of them. So I am going to plane them smooth, make them into a nice smooth log. And I also have to do that anyway at the joints, because I can't get a nice neat scribe on that notch until I do that. So that's the plan. So again, maybe you consider it cheating, but I have to do what I have to do, because I really want to get this cabin, especially the first cabin on the property, underway and completed this summer. So the only way that's going to happen is if I use these seasoned logs. They're all cut to 12-foot length, so it's predetermined the size of the cabin. I do have a splice in the middle. My wife especially was really not comfortable with me building just a 10 by 10 cabin. So what I've done is I ended up notching just 6 inches or 9 inches overhang in the corners, and that left me with exactly 10 feet inside dimension, inside measurement, side to side, and then I extended it double that length. So the cabin is actually 20 feet long, so it's 10 by 20. I have enough logs to go up at least 8 feet on the walls, and then I'm going to do the gable ends will be actually full logs instead. I don't like the look of, and I don't want to do the work of hand sawing boards out of all the logs to make sort of a stick framed gable end. So I'm going to bring logs all the way up, kind of like a Dick Prenneke style cabin, but I'm going to have a higher peak on it so that I can put a loft upstairs. So that's why you're seeing me, and you're hearing this road noise as you're hearing right now. I'm in my backyard, like I said, in a suburban small town, like it's a village, but there's traffic, especially today with an east wind with a system coming in. So you'll see grass behind me as well. That's my back lawn, and then Callie's running around, of course, helping me out, stripping bark off of a log. So here I am. That's the explanation. That's why you're seeing some odd marks on the logs. That's why you're seeing me work in sort of an urban environment. But I am building this cabin up. The plan, very soon, I'll be disassembling this thing. I'm going to get it a little bit more than halfway up. I'm going to get the cabin a little bit more than half built, and then I'm going to disassemble it and bring it up. So that's the plan. That's the explanation. Appreciate everybody sticking around and being patient with me again. I know I say that, I think, in every video, but it's true. I've got a lot of things on the go. I've got a big canoe trip that I'm doing, a couple of weeks of canoeing and fishing in the boreal forest. I know people that are here for more of the self-reliance and the tiny home movement and the cabins and so on are probably not interested in that, but to me, self-reliance also includes, acquiring food from nature and connecting with nature, and self-propelled watercraft to me is like the ultimate form of self-reliance. So that's why I'm doing all these side trips as well while I'm in the middle of this. So still on the same agenda. So if you came for the log cabins and you're getting a little bit impatient, please be patient. Lots more coming up. Once I get back from this trip, so sometime in July, I'll be dedicating all my time to the property. So getting the cabin built, getting some workshops underway, and just creating that whole camp atmosphere up there, or the homestead atmosphere at the property. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm getting some criticism, various criticism. I'll address that on another video. I'll be interested to do a sort of a question and answer video and address some questions, concerns, and criticisms. But one point I do want to make is, anybody who thinks I'm taking on a little bit too much, in the truck today, and I again listened to a country song called Time by, I think, Dean Brody, and he says the problem is you think you have time, and that's really the truth. So when I get up in the morning, I really want to get to work. I want to, I'm 47 now, I don't want to be 60 and say I wish when I was 47, when I was young, that I had done something more with my life. So here I am, trying to get as much done in a day and as much done in a week, month, and a year as I can. And you know, that means taking on a lot. So I don't regret that 1 minute. People think I'm going to burn out. I hope I burn out doing this. I don't want to just fade away. I want to live my life to the fullest, and I want to burn out. At the end of my life, I want to say I lived it right to the bitter end, and got a lot accomplished, and I was very proud, and had a good time. So that's a little bit of explanation of what I've been up to. So hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you stick around. If you have any questions, again, please comment. Check us out on my wife and I on Facebook and Instagram. She helps me out with a lot of photographs, takes a lot of the photographs and does all the video or photograph processing. I do all the filming, 99% of the filming and all the film processing. So by film processing, I mean video. So check us out there, and if you haven't subscribed, that'd be great. I'm enjoying watching the numbers go up, the number of subscribers go up, and it's kind of motivated me to keep going. So if you are interested in watching more, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, I'd really appreciate that. So that's it. I'm going to wrap that up, and like I said, thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next video.